Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Sports Tech Radar. Our apologies significantly. This radar has been rescheduled a couple of times already. So I actually don't even know how many people are going to be on this live stream, but we decided to do it anyway. Just a quick half an hour session. I know we've scheduled for 60 minutes, but I decided to do it in 30. We'll do a quick half an hour run through of our latest report, the Global Sports Tech Ecosystem Report, which we published a few weeks ago. It was out in the first week of June, but it's been a busy time, so we haven't had, at least I haven't had the chance to record this webinar yet. So yeah, if you're actually watching, I don't know how many people are, so please do join in. Tell me where you're watching from. Today is a pretty muggy day here in Berlin. It's been beautiful and bright summer so far for the most part, but some thunderstorms today means I have a light on in my home at noon. But it'll be a better looking day, I hope, for the rest of it. Tell me where you're signing in from, how your day is going. It is lunchtime on a Wednesday here in Europe. Like I said, we're bang on noon that we're starting this. So maybe it's later in the day if you're further east, earlier in the morning if you're further west. But yeah, no need to delay things further. The idea of what we're presenting today, or what I'm going to be presenting today, is quickly go through our sports tech ecosystem report. As I mentioned, we published this report in June of this year. It is one of our flagship properties, along with the sports tech VC report, something that we've been publishing every year since 2018. So our sixth edition. And it's something that I would really look forward to. I think this year it got delayed a bit. We published in June instead of our normal May kind of timeline. Also, this radar, there's just been so much going on, not from an investment perspective, which is a shame to say. There isn't that much investment happening in the sports space over the last year or so, which we highlight in this report. But just in general, it feels like it's kind of like a calm before the storm moment. There's just a general appetite to invest in sports. We see that increasingly. We see that from multiple directions. We see many players coming into the market constantly, and that's why we present this report to map out the entire ecosystem. Who's doing what around innovation in what parts of the world? What are the private players doing? What are the sports organizations doing? What are the investors doing? Who are the new investors? And of course, a look at the leading startups. So yeah, I'm going to get cracking. Don't be shy. Drop a line in the chat and say hello if you're here. Yeah, if you don't know, if you are here or you're watching this later and you don't know who we are, this is what we do. Sports Tech X is a market intelligence business, for a market intelligence company for anything around sports and innovation. Our job and the job of my team is to know what is the latest, coolest tech out there in sports, what is driving the future of sports. What we look at when we say sports tech is all solutions that help an athlete be better at their sport, help a fan engage better with their sport, and help an executive who's working in the sports industry execute their responsibilities better. So, solutions for athletes, solutions for fans, and solutions for the sports executive. That is the entire universe of sports tech that we're talking about. Our own services, we create a lot of content like this webinar, like the report that I'm going to go through. We have a weekly newsletter, a weekly podcast. If you haven't checked out any of that content, please do. If you're here, this has come on your radar and that hasn't, I think it might be of interest. Or if you have been watching and following our content, then let us know. Drop a word in the chat or just reach out to us. Share any feedback that you might have that might help us improve our content. It's something that we always look forward to. Apart from our content, we do some consulting work with sports organizations or with corporates in the area of sports innovation, or as I said, the future of sport. These can be in the form of running innovation challenges, running bespoke reports. We've recently did a webinar, which a few of you watched. I think it was about 150 of you joined for the live webinar, which we did in partnership with Teamworks, which was a survey of the innovation challenges faced by sports organizations. If you haven't downloaded that report, I suggest you do. We hear from innovation leaders from the IOC, from Tennis Australia, from FC Barcelona, from Juventus, from Irish Rugby, from the London Marathon, and a host of others like top tier logos that are presented on that report, and top tier executives sharing their thoughts about what are the biggest challenges they face, and therefore the opportunities that you can glean from those challenges and help grow this industry that we're all a part of. So that's some the consulting side. Like I said, some innovation challenges, some bespoke reports, private or public research. We do a bunch of that. And then, of course, on the Connect side, we help startups with fundraising. So if you are a startup looking to raise capital, I also wear the second hat as a investment director at a European sports tech VC fund called Match Ventures. So that helps kind of tie up our research into actual deal flow. I also highlighted we do a lot of content reports. We have a database which has a free and pro version, a newsletter I mentioned in our weekly podcast, blog where we publish regular articles, and of course regular social media content that you can look forward to. Today, these are just some of the leaders. We are 15 sports tech innovators that we featured in our latest ecosystem report. You can see from the names on this list, these are people from top organizations, from the MLS, from the KNBB, from the Future of Sports Lab, from Sportsloft, from some funds, Match Ventures, Aquabloom, Center Code Capital, Sharp Alpha Advisors, Apex Capital. I mean, a bunch of investors, a few sports organizations, GSIC represented, which is powered by Microsoft, and NBC Comcast Universal. So NBC Universal Comcast, which have with their sports tech program. So we get a bunch of opinions from various leaders in the sports world, and we ask them a couple of questions. What are the biggest challenges they face when it comes to innovation? As I mentioned, that we covered in a separate report, but also in a smaller way in this one. And what kind of companies they are looking to partner with at any given point in time. And this is really critical information, especially for startups. So if you are a startup founder in the sports tech space, I'd recommend checking out this report. You might find something useful in there. Right, so let's crack on with the actual report itself. And in this report, we do a few things. We always present the funding picture of what has happened over the last 5 years in the world of sports. We look at the top companies, where this investment has gone, and which geographies, what is happening in different parts of the world. And in today, in a quick half an hour or so, maybe 20, 25 minutes more, I'm going to go through some of the key findings in our report. And the headline says it right there. Over $50 billion has been invested in sports tech over the last 5 years, dominated, of course, by North America. I feel like I'm not sure you can see the headers clearly, but yeah, essentially the picture that the graph that I show you, it says North America dominates global deal flow, and this is important because North America, and especially the US, accounts for over 55% of all that $50 billion of investment. However, as you can see, the investment is kind of like a tent. We had a big year, 2019 and 2020. There was, some amount of deal flow. 2021 was a big peak year. We saw a ton of money going into sports technology, over $11 billion, nearly $12 billion invested in sports tech startups. 2022 was a strong follow-up year. We saw about 8 point something billion dollars invested in sports tech. And 2023, there was a huge drop-off, and hardly any deal flow coming into the sports industry. But it's not that there was no money coming in. In fact, there was a redistribution of capital, and which is the chart on the right-hand side. You look at the M&A deal flow in sports technology, and that pillar is at its highest. So after a big investment cycle, we've seen a big consolidation cycle in 2023. As you can see from the regions, which are the color codes, North America is the one in red, APAC in orange, Europe in blue, and the rest of the world shown in green. The red is the biggest chunk of most pillars across the years. But in 2023, it's fairly even on the investment side and relatively even as well on the M&A activity side. But $3.5 billion worth of deal flow in North America, $5 billion of deal flow in the APAC region, and we play a bit loose with this definition of APAC. APAC is traditionally kind of South and Southeast Asia going towards Oceania. We go also include the Middle East. So all of Asia plus Oceania is what we're considering for APAC here. And Europe is just Europe. We don't look at it as EMEA. Or Europe and Middle East and Northern Africa is how it's normally considered. So we just take Europe in isolation because it's a far more developed sports market than North Africa and the Middle East. The Middle East is probably closer to Asia in terms of maturity in sports, also relevant from a sports trend perspective, but we'll come to that. So yeah, on this chart, you can see that the distribution is fairly even in the last couple of years, though in previous years, you see more red. The most important thing to take away from this chart is that while funding numbers are down, M&A numbers are high, and that is important because it just means that startup founders need to find ways to survive this investment winter in some ways, that if they're not getting adequate access to capital, need to tighten their belts and find good partners that can help them get through this time. And if that might mean also consolidating through acquisition, either themselves or maybe they're the acquirers and finding capital to do that. It's an interesting time in the industry, and we're trying to see how this will go. 2024, I hate to break it to you, if you've been following our newsletter, you will see that it's not started in a different way. It's kind of continuing from 2023, especially the first half of the year has been even leaner. Access to capital has really dried up. And while there are companies that are deploying, such as our fund, Match Ventures, but there aren't too many. Access to capital is certainly scarce. So we're hoping to see more deal flow. We're seeing a lot more interest in sports in general, but in terms of startup activity or startup investment activity, it is fairly lean at the moment. Right, which sectors does this investment go into? I think that's worth mentioning. We look at the last 5 years again. Fans and content accounts for 50% of the investment over the last 5 years, and that is important because, and of course, this changes by geography. That's why we have 6 charts. We'd show you the 5-year investment breakup by sector, and then only for 2023, so you get the most recent perspective, like kind of where it's trending, apart from just the 5-year perspective. And that shows up a few different things in general across the board. From a global perspective, over the last 5 years, fans and content is about 50% of investment. Solutions for athletes only in 2023 across the board was at 47%, which is interesting to see as well. So it kind of evens up a bit in 2023. The geography perspective is even more skewed. If you look at Europe, for example, Europe in solutions for athletes has jumped to 68% in 2023, much higher than its 5-year average of 38%. So that's an interesting trend to already pick up on. Like, what's going on? Why is Europe at a much higher number versus APAC, where investment in fans and content has kind of consistently stayed at the 70% threshold over the last 5 years, and also in 2023. Maybe there's something that you've thought of for why this is happening. Why has Europe seen a big switch in the share of sectors, activity performance going from 38 to 68%? Drop a line in the chat. Let me know what you think. Why this is happening, or maybe you have a question that I can throw some light on. But this is certainly what the data is presenting. In the US, the split is fairly even. We see kind of like fans and content at 49%, like so about 50, 40, 10 is how the split has been over the last 5 years. 50 for fans, 40 for activity, and 10 to 12 for management organization. But actually, B2B solutions have seen an uptick across the board, 20% now in the US, definitely much higher. In the APAC region, it was 1.4% for the last 5 years, 12% now. So that's a 100 times jump. And in Europe, stays around that 20% because Europe has always been in that range for this market. I always find this chart really interesting to see what the different geographies focus on. Like with Asia, for example, these are clearly consumer facing markets. So they want to focus on, or rather invest in scale, right? Anything can be end consumer facing, either content platforms, fitness tech that you can get in the hand of end consumers, betting, fantasy sports. These are big topics which drive the growth of sports technology in that region. North America's seen that wave. They've come out of that fantasy sports betting stuff. They still do a bit of it, of course, on the betting side, but it's not as big as it as fantasy was in 20, let's say 15 and 16. From an investment perspective, because the sector is mature. You see more in the fitness space, that will always be there. You also see now more in the B2B side, which is what I highlighted a few moments earlier, that there is an increasing interest in this segment in different types of solutions. Video broadcasting is a big part of what B2B solutions are focused on, and broadcast innovation will come to that. Alexander says Europe has been disappointed with the result of fan engagement solutions they were implementing, so they may be back to core business. Yeah, I think that's a fair point, Alexander. I think that fan data or access to good quality fan data is a big problem that all sports organizations face, and they try different types of fan engagement solutions, but sometimes they become just one-off activations. How do you make it a sustainable investment in gathering fan data so that you can better serve your fans? And yeah, I think companies are looking to improve operationally rather than just finding quick activations, quick wins where they can gather a bunch of data for their fans and make it a more sustainable process. Right. What is some of the key trends? I mean, we're going to cover a lot more data in the report in terms of which countries investment trends focus on. For example, in the report, we also highlight the top three companies in each geography. We highlight the top three cities. We highlight the top three countries. All of that data, basically the US and Canada and North America. Germany, UK, France are the big drivers of investment in the region. But Italy, for example, jumped into third spot in 2023. That was driven by a big investment in a B2B fitness tech company, which is interesting to see. And China, India, and Australia are the dominant players in the APAC region, but something that we want to see more of. I mean, that's just a quick overview of some of the data. Please go download the report if you want to see more. I'm going to quickly touch upon the key trends in the sports tech space, and kind of connected to what we spoke about just now. It's B2B solutions that are driving interest in investment. The total investment in B2B solutions ramped up to 36% in 2023. This is significantly higher than the average kind of 10 to 12% that we see in previous years. Yes, the 2023 number is much smaller in comparison to previous years, but the fact that a big allocation of that has gone to B2B solutions is an interesting point to note. When you see the names of the companies, I mentioned B2B gym solutions, eGym in Munich and Technogym in Cesena, Italy are right up there. Sports Alliance is also like a fitness aggregator. Teamworks, one of the partners for this report, they did a big round last year, raised 65 million. I think takes their total funding to something like 165 million, if I'm not mistaken. And a content platform in the Veloce media group. But again, these B2B companies raising significant sums of money. You see the average from 2019 to 2022 is 15%. That has jumped to 36%. And if you look at the sector-wise breakup, 49% of that investment is in for activity hardware, which is the fitness solutions or fitness hardware providers I talked about, eGym and Technogym. But also in orgs and venues, there was a significant amount invested. Media and sponsorship takes 14%, orgs and venues at nearly 20%. So different types of venue tech or like solutions that help sports organizations are gathering momentum. It's just a really interesting trend to keep an eye on. Yeah, Casey, who's just joined us in the chat as well. I think in 2024, you're right. We're seeing a similar continuation of that trend. But I think also in 24, the numbers are quite small. So I'll be curious to see how the second half of the year pans out. Another key trend, fitness tech is here to stay. 42% of total investment. Yes, this includes B2B and B2C, because if you look at this chart, the middle one, it actually shows that, yeah, I showed you a couple of those B2B solutions, but there are enough B2C solutions as well, which are driving the growth of fitness tech. It's 50-50 in terms of investment. And in terms of total funding, over the last 5 years, fitness has been a key contributor. I think it says over here 28.6%, so nearly 30%, a little less than 1/3 of all investment has gone into fitness tech in the preceding 4 years. But in 2023, that jumped to 43.5%. So a big rise there in fitness tech solutions, investments going in Germany, USA, and Italy. We see this every year. I feel like for the last 5 years, I've been talking about fitness tech as a key trend, and it doesn't go away. There is a new model, a new solution that comes out, and people or the market is clearly hungry for innovation or continuous innovation in fitness. We've not seen as much investment in B2B solutions before as we have seen in this year. And I think there is further iteration of maybe smart portable devices, which would be your personal, let's say, weight trainer or fitness device. Because, yeah, I mean, I think the days of spending $2,000, $2,500 on like this big smart bike, like a Peloton or a smart treadmill or a smart rower, hydro or mirrors or tempo and all of these fancy machines that you might have installed in your house, I think they're not as attractive today. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They've all had significantly either corrected valuations or been sold or needed to find exits. So now it's like the more portable device that I can use for myself, take it to a gym, work out there as well. These kind of things are seeing more traction. Also, aggregators. We've seen good investment rounds happen in providers that can sit in different layers. So you have your gym aggregator in your city, maybe a ClassPass, an urban sports club, for example, where I am. But what if you're also on the road a lot, like I am? A lot of people are traveling, and even if it's not on the road a lot, even if it's just once or twice a month, but how do I keep to my routine? And you have other services that are now aggregating hotels to gym providers, giving you fitness wear on the road, different ways of how your fitness can follow you and not just you follow your fitness into the gym. I think this is where this model is continuing to evolve. Drop your thoughts to tell me what kind of gym solutions or fitness tech solutions that you're using. I'd be curious to hear from you guys. The last trend I want to talk about, and this is a big one, this is an important one, is big tech is getting deeper and deeper into sports, right? We're seeing bigger investments from large tech companies. You see the logos on the left of this little table that we have here. I don't know if it's perfectly legible on the slide. Maybe make it full stream or download the report and you can see all the information. But what we tried to do on this page was kind of do a simple tabulation of what is everybody doing here, right? What are the different stakeholders, actors in terms of the tech companies doing? And we see that they're doing a lot. Amazon, Apple, Meta are all investing in live sports along with Netflix, who've been rumored to be involved for a while. They got the WWE on. You might argue whether it's sports or not, but it's very much sports entertainment, if nothing else. And especially when they're part of a $21 billion enterprise, TKO, which is the merger, which is born out of the merger of the WWE and UFC, which you almost certainly consider sports, right? So WWE is very much part, or their transactions are part of what we're interested in. So the Netflix has got WWE and the NFL now. They've got a Sunday, a Christmas ticket, actually not a Sunday ticket. I believe it's a Christmas ticket that they will take for this year for the NFL. Amazon has had NFL for a while. They've got the Premier League in different parts of the world. The Champions League, for example, in Germany, where I am, Liga, the French League, the WNBA. They also redistribute to beIN Sports. So they're doing a lot of live sports. Apple, of course, famously has a 10-year deal with the MLS, and Google, through YouTube, has had an NFL ticket for a while, and they have picked up other tickets. Meta has picked up a La Liga ticket in India. Facebook was showing La Liga games when it was still Facebook um, a while ago. So yeah, we see a lot of live sports activity from the big tech players, but not just that. They're all also investing in innovation partnerships or in different types of innovation initiatives. Amazon has a big partnership with the NFL. Apple, of course, because of the partnership with the MLS, they're also partners with the MLS Innovation Lab, and lots of cool stuff. I had Chris Schlosser, a good friend, on the podcast, and he was talking about how they work with Apple and how they're such a good partner for all the different startups that the MLS brings into their ecosystem, and how they can connect them to Apple and kind of run pilots there, but also connect them to their sports organizations. It's a really interesting model that they're putting together. Google works with so many partners. They work with the WNBA, but they're also investors. With McLaren, if you're a Formula One fan, you'd have seen the Google logo on the wheels, the Chrome logo. With Liverpool, with Live Golf, with Fox Sports, they do various things with each of these partners. And then if you look at the bottom box in the third column, there are so many other partnerships. Infosys, which is an Indian tech company, does a lot in tennis. They are partners with the ATP Tour, with Roland Garros, the French Open, with Tennis Australia. I believe they might be doing something with Wimbledon as well now. So they've kind of built a specialization of either helping you gather fan data, helping you build innovative broadcasting solutions, drive a bit of fan engagement. So they picked up tennis as their vertical. TCS works with Formula One, and with the London Marathon, they built a custom app, which also we've had the good fortune to take a look at. It's a very cool solution. Microsoft, of course, has a legacy partnership now, it almost seems, with La Liga. They've been operating with them for a while, and they have their own global sports innovation center sitting in Madrid and Singapore. And they do a bunch of stuff out of that hub. They do run various innovation challenges, have meetups and webinars and events and things. Definitely worth checking out if you don't know about them. On the fan experience side, Samsung, IBM, Oracle, Amazon, Apple, they're all doing something. They all either have wearables. Meta is investing in a big way, of course, in VR. Apple is investing in, well, they don't call it VR, right? They have their own term for it, but the Vision Pro, even though it's a $3,500 device, which is not particularly accessible, but spatial computing, as they term it, will be a big part of their future as well. I don't know if you've managed to try the device. I recently did. It is incredible. The kind of fidelity you get, the experience that you have wearing those devices. So all of these big tech companies are investing in sports in a big way and getting bigger and bigger. Something that we are actively watching very closely. I can name off a bunch of others. I can talk about what Decathlon is doing. What Decathlon is doing with their innovation lab. I can talk about what Delta Tray is doing with theirs. I can talk about various other sports organizations, FIFA and UEFA, and all of these guys. And a lot of the corporates, essentially in the sports world, are all setting up innovation labs or doing something or the other, which kind of neatly brings me through. First, a quick mention of some of the startups that we featured. Our good partners in the report: Oliver, a fantastic company based out of Barcelona. You can see Ilkay Gundogan. I don't know if you've been following the Euros. He had a good one, even though Germany got knocked out. But Spain is certainly doing well. They won last night, thrilling victory over France. Football and football wearables are a big and fast-growing space. Oliver is, of course, partnered with Barcelona, which is why you see Gundogan holding up FC Barcelona branded Oliver tracker. Oliver is just this little device that you put in your a little shin sleeve on your foot, which is giving you a bunch of really good data about your football, how you play. It doesn't have to be. It's not super expensive. I believe it's something like 120 maybe euros or so, somewhere in that range. You could buy it for yourself. You could buy it for your kid. It's a great Christmas gift, and they're seeing a lot of traction. That's one company. Chaos Tricks. Working on the streaming space. They give various solutions for streamers to help boost their interaction and their engagement on streams. Really interesting company, based out of Armenia. You have a couple more partners. Relometrics, of course, a company that has been around for a long time, which helps define sponsorship analytics, telling you the value of the various metrics, or the visibility that your brand gets. And lastly, we have 1080 Motion, a very interesting company which does measurement of kind of like strength, speed, those kind of highly technical aspects, but they measure it in a very technical way, not just the basics of, let's say, what a simple tracker would do on your wrist or your back or something like that. But this is when you're really tracking recovery or performance advancement. You use a company like 1080 Motion. They've been seeing great traction. The Swedish company, not Swiss, I'm sorry. So check out some of these products, some of our partners in the report. And also worth mentioning all the other great companies. I showed you at the top 15 people that we featured who shared their opinions in the report. What they also did was highlight 15 companies as their ones to watch. Some great names on here, some old names which you might know, companies like Playsight and Zoomf, who've raised, or 3D Digital Venue, which have raised money in the past, but also some newer names. Companies like Quidditch coming out of India, Stupa, sports analytics also coming out of India, Zetap, company operating in the phygital space. Cooper, which was in the AI running space. They did something with London Marathon. Content delivery studios, training platforms, Sportwake. So a bunch of different companies recommended by sports tech leaders and innovators. Alongside that, our own list of 10 companies to watch. These are companies that Sports Tech X has on its radar and would like to bring on your radar as well. Celebrate, a seemingly pretty simple solution. It just does booking of football venues, so that you can find a game and find a pitch, but do it at scale and have really demonstrated traction. Cam.ai does automated voice translation, but with context. So imagine hearing this webinar, but in Mandarin, but with my voice, with my intonation, with my cadence. And you can apply that to all languages. Edge Sound Research in the immersive sound space, Mindfly in the immersive video space, Next, which is using AR to augment, AR to get people more physically active, PAM, which does mapping of indoor spaces, SportWhat, which brings digital content or broadcasting of let's say tier 2 sports or smaller sports and bringing them onto streaming. Super Sapiens, which does metabolic analysis, Turf Coach, which does measurement of fields, and Respo Vision, which is in the AI space, for computer vision based analytics. These are just some of the companies that are certainly worth highlighting across the report. Also worth highlighting all the various innovation initiatives, the accelerator programs, ones by sports organizations, ones by other corporates. We've got a host of these presented in the report. I highly recommend that you take a look at it. And yeah, that's it. I think for now, I try to keep it within, let's say, 30, 35 minutes. Alexander, yeah, I will check your connection request and we can have a chat. But for anybody else that's interested in reaching out to us, please feel free to do so. Download the report, of course, if you want more context and more information. But it's just in general. I think we're here to talk more to startups, to talk more about the industry, about what's happening. And if you're a fan of sports, if you're a fan of sports technology, then it's something that we love talking about. Lastly, for the people that are on the stream, we're also hosting an event in Berlin a couple of days from now. So it might be a bit last minute if you are traveling into Berlin. But hey, the idea was that there's a big final in the city a couple of days later on Sunday. So in the lead up to the final, why not host something at in our city? You're welcome, Juan. Glad you found it useful. Yeah, so if you're in Berlin or happen to be here, let us know. Drop us a line. I think Casey and the team have shared, I think, in the last newsletter about the event that we're hosting. But you're welcome to join us. We'd love to hear from you, meet you in person. So if you're in Berlin, definitely come look us up. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this webinar. Like I said, I intentionally try to keep it short, just a quick overview of the key insights from the report. Welcome to download it, welcome to get in touch. And if you haven't already, please do sign up for our newsletter as well for more regular updates on all the content that we publish. All right, guys, it's been a fun one. Enjoy the rest of your day. All right.